Todd, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me. It's an exciting week. It's the week before San Diego Comic-Con, and of course, we know you're going to be there. Comic books, toys, panels, signings, doing it all because we love you as fans, and it's a great time. So, to start, really, actually, what does Comic-Con mean to you after all these years of working the circuit over and over again with so many awesome projects?
Um, I think really it's just sort of and they have them luckily sort of all over the country at different times, but just a big celebration of people of like mind getting together. And I don't mean comic book people per se. I just mean like, geeks having a big giant 4-day party, right? Nothing wrong with that. And now, as you know, at San Diego, both the events are both inside the convention hall and outside. So there's essentially two parties going on at the exact same time. And everybody just gets to come and get their groove on, right? So you may like anime or you may like toys. You're there for the celebrities, right? Comic book people, whatever. Like, doesn't really matter why you're there as long as you're just sort of having a good time. And my guess is that everybody's not myopic. They actually sort of enjoy a bunch of this stuff. So the growth of it from the very first one that I went to when I was 16, 17, which was literally a Comic Con, was, sort of your traditional old school 20 tables in a basement at a small ballroom, one small ballroom, and you had a couple guests, and that was it. Now look at San Diego Comic Con. It's super awesome.
Yeah, I hear incredible stories of like being able to get original artwork from just like all sorts of legendary creators that were just at people's tables. Things that are like now thousands of dollars are just going for like 25, $50 sketches that
Oh man, like every now and then I'll see one of my pay. I can't even afford to buy my own stuff back. Um, and I always tell people who have one, or they'll show me one, they'll bring one, and I go, take a look at the back, right? Because when I used to go to the shows, I used to have the stack next to me, and I used to put the price on it so that I could sign and people could look at the artwork, and then it was like instead of asking me how much is this, I just put the price on the back, right?
mm,
And so there's lots and lots and lots of pages you could have had for $100 or less, right? So, because there's been a couple people that go, man, I got this. I spent way too much, but I feel pretty good. And I go, you know how much that was originally? Like, no, I go, turn it over. And then they see like $80 and I go, oh my God, I paid way more than that. So, but, part of the, not to sort of derail, but part of the reason for a lot of the artwork that I've done that's gone up is because I haven't added to it in 30 years. It's a finite amount. And as the fan base gets bigger, they're scrumming over the exact same amount of pages that were there 30 years ago. I haven't put any into the pool. So
yeah, and those classic pages will never come back. They're one of a kind. And so it's whenever anyone has them, it's always great pieces to just awe and admire sometimes. So let's get a little bit into what you have going on, starting with you have two panels going on Friday and Saturday. What can we expect from your Todd McFarlane in conversation? Because you have a lot going on when it comes to comics, uh, with Spawn, with the 50, with some exclusives you have at the show.
yeah. So many I usually try not to. I'm of all the things I'm sort of uncomfortable about is like trying to do the actual in-person hustle, right? I mean, I oddly it's way easier to do it through social. And so I try to rush through like, hey, here's what we got coming out. Here's sort of the day and month that's coming out, blah 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 blah, right? And I try not to do a hard sell because I know we're going to do a follow-up information on it. And it's more just enter sort of giving information. I think you should be informative, right? Like, hey, here's a trailer. Watch it. If you like it, it comes out July 11th. It's called Superman. You either go or you don't go based on that information. Um, and depending on the price of a ticket too. So I usually like to sort of zoom through that. And I don't think there's any shortage of people talking about comic books who go to comic book panels. So I don't know. For me, and maybe it's just me because I've done a lot of these. I just would rather chat and have like a conversation about life, right? Like, hey, here's sort of some of the things that went on in my life, good, bad, or indifferent, like blah 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 blah, right? And it sort of begats questions that lead to other things. And I don't know. I've never polled anybody to go, were you frustrated? I didn't really talk about comic books and toys that much. Because I'm just sort of saying, hey, I'm an old man and I got a lot of silly stories. And let me tell you a few stories. Oh yeah, by the way, we're going to show you some stuff up on the big screen. If you like any of that, go buy it, when it comes out, right? And keep it as easy as that. So that's what, now I guess I've been in the business now pushing 40 years. So, and Jim Viscardi is going to be up there with me, who's the guy that helped start comicbook.com. And I think he's been around long enough that for us to be able to just talk about 40 years, right? Like not only San Diego, but just the industry and what it means and what the impacts have been, good, bad, or indifferent. Some have been pros, some have been negative, and then how I am personally dealing with it as compared to how the industry is dealing with it. Blah 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 blah. Right. So I don't know. I did it. Had a conversation like that with Frank Miller. Right. They asked me to moderate it, and I think it was called a Daredevil Panel. And as we were walking up, to the panel, I just went, "Hey Frank, do you mind if we don't really talk about Daredevil much?" And he's like, "Oh no, shit, Todd. Fuck, I was hoping you were going to say that." Now, all the people that were there, I don't know if we disappointed them, because we didn't talk a lot of Daredevil. But it's like, again, it's a myopic conversation to some extent, right? And I don't know. I'm not a fan of listening to people up on stage say nice things about each other, right? Like, whatever, I get it. We like each other. You're great. I'm great. Now, let's get to the conversation. And so we both had like dumb stories separately. And then Frank and I had been through some things ourselves. So we peeled back the curtain and told some of those stories that, I don't know, they seemed to get a chuckle out of it. And they were like, "Oh man, I thought we were coming here for Daredevil." And we got all this crazy stuff, right? And then a couple of months later, I did one with Jim Lee. And again, sort of the same thing. Like, hey, here's two guys that were trying to sort of break in at the same time, get in at the same time, were competitors, and then all of a sudden crossed over and became partners at Image, and then Image. And I wanted the conversation with Jim Lee. I called it the X, like his career, my career, and then how we got to the point right here, which is Image, and then how we were at Image, and then eventually we sort of separated again. We never even got to Image. We were up there for an hour, and we didn't even get to Image, and we still had like tons of stories. This is the problem with being old. You got way too many. You got way too many of them. But again, it seemed like people were having a good time just eavesdropping on information that they probably otherwise wouldn't have heard before, stories they wouldn't have heard or known about before, right? Me telling you about the next upcoming comic book, you're going to be able to find that in a lot of different places very quickly. So, yeah.
Yeah, so actually I really appreciate that you said that because as a person who's gone to so many panels for like Jesus, I don't know how many years now. I think that's what I appreciate the most, almost like that little kid moment where I can cross my legs, have a juice box and really listen to your stories, knowing that that story is only being told in that room to that group of people. And it's special because, we're all going to get the same books, obviously, and we're all going to enjoy it in our own ways. But that story that you tell will never be told in that same way with that same energy, regardless if you say it again in another
Yeah, yeah.
room. But that's just for us, for the fans. And I appreciate that you feel that way about panels.
Because sometimes too, the questions trigger a memory that you hadn't thought about for a while, right? That you just
Mhm.
go, "Oh yeah, you know what? That just reminds me, man, we did this thing." And whether it was like a good or a bad or fun or happy or a frustrating story, it's still a story, right? Of sort of like, here it is, right? I don't know. It's sort of the sausage making of a person's career. And um, like Stan Lee. I mean, I had the pleasure of being up on stage with Stan, probably more than any other human being. And he could have gone all day, right? And the reason he could have gone all day was because he was 90. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? He had 70 years worth of stories, right? So people go, man, Todd, you got some good stories. Like, just wait till I'm 90, right? Like, I'll get another 30 years I get to add to it. Where when you're 22, I had some good stories at 22, but not as many as I have
Mhm.
now that I'm 60, right? And I hopefully I'll even have way more when I'm 90. Cool, right? That's what life gives you. It gives you a couple different things. It gives you stories, gives you perspective, and the perspective also gives you like, oh, now I'm old enough to sort of know where pitfalls are, right? And it's really to some extent, Manny, without sort of going sideways, it's sort of what parents do, right? They try to block their kids from falling into potholes, right? Just like, turn around, son. You don't want to do that thing called drugs because you know what? That's a dead end. Because either I know personally and or my friends, I know through experience, that's a pothole. You might want to turn around. Like, I don't know where you're going down that road, but I'm telling you, that's a pothole and that's a pothole and that's a pothole. So parents are just blocking to go, turn around, go that way. The future's that way. Go. Uh, but and I think on the story front, we're the same way. Everybody by the time they're 90 gonna be able to talk for 4 hours and have just as many stories. We just happen to have a platform that we get to get up on stage, and we're fortunate enough that we're healthy enough that we've lived to be a certain age. So good on us.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of the fun of conventions really is getting to meet the people behind the books to do all the hard work. It's funny, there's a lot of times there's like artists doing work and their significant others or someone are like, come talk to him. Like I know he's working, but he wants to talk. He wants to have a conversation. So that's always
Look
a
at it.
fun.
Look at it. I tried to have one. I had one. I was in Calgary, which is where I was born, up in Canada, and I had one with my dad. I go, hey, I'm going to do a panel with my dad, right? Because my dad, if you've ever seen him at a show, is like a Walmart greeter, right? He just walks the line and he talks to everybody, and he's got like a million jokes. And by the time they get up there, he's signed about 10% of the comic books, and he takes the sweet spot all the time. Um, and he basically takes the thunder away from me. I'm like, Dad, I can't bring you. You're way more famous than I am. Anyways, so I thought it'd be sort of fun to have a panel with him, and he could tell all these like stories about Todd that were like, oh man, let me tell you how much of a son of a bitch he was, right? Or whatever. I like, he had it, and I bring him up there, and he froze. He Oh, and I'm just like, Dad. And I was trying to, and I go, oh my God. He didn't understand it was so gonna be like Todd and the Todd father, literally the Todd father, having a conversation, and then him basically peeling off some stories like, Todd's not gonna want me to tell this story, but I'm gonna tell it anyway, right? He's good at that, and he does it, but not on that stage. And so he got up on stage, and I think he thought he was stealing my thunder.
Oh, okay.
And so he was very polite. And I just and all I could think of the whole time was, I don't know if you remember this cartoon, Looney Tunes, where the little girl, I think whoever it was, found the dancing, singing frog.
Okay, yeah,
Right? Hello, my baby. Hello. Right. And so that's my dad. But man, but the moment I tried to show Ribbit,
yeah.
right? And then just like in the Looney Tune cartoon, as soon as the panel was over and he walked off stage, he was back. He was back doing his thing, like, hey, 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 hey. And I'm like, oh man, but that would have been a heck of a panel if he had just done what he does other than that 1 hour.
That's
So
funny. Were you able to get him back up there any other time after that?
no, because I just can't trust him now. So anyway, I can't
Oh.
I can't trust him. It would have been a good one. And he was he had the home crowd. He lives in Calgary. It's like your home crowd. But he look, at some point you give people the football, and some take it for a touchdown and others fumble. Right? So dad, he fumbled that day. So
Well, thanks for sharing that with me. I appreciate that. Before I let you go, I did want to ask you a couple tech things. Really, when it comes to your toy line,
Yeah.
one of the things that I appreciate about your toy line is really how, I mean, they are very detailed, but you also keep a really reasonable price point compared to other companies that are selling things that are incomparable quality. How are you guys able to really manage that to find a good balance with it? Because I mean, like some of the action figures that you'll have at San Diego, I mean, the Doom, the Dark Ages one, for example, the Diablo for the Lilith, amazing quality. And I mean, it's like $60, I think, is your price point. Which I'm not saying raise your prices. By all means, please don't.
No. As a matter of fact, it frustrates me that we're even there because I started the company and we were 5.99, right? In my mind, figures should still be like 8.99, right? I understand that. It was interesting, Manny. I don't know how old you are, but it took a long time to get past 9.99, right? Because
Mhm,
that's a magic number, right? You know, this whole, oh, they see a single digit, that's why it's 9.99. So
mhm,
like if you go 10, that's like a double digit. And even the retailers, the Toys R Us, Kmart, Walmart's, at that point were like, no, keep it. And there was this wall, like everybody kept that. But I got to tell you, like it was shocking, the moment that we crossed, like in the first companies went to 11.99 or something like that. It just seemed like it went from 11.99 to 19, 20.99 like that quick. Like
mhm,
then it was like, oh, well, we're at double digits, so we get to 99.99, right? Like, so the kid gloves were off, and it's interesting when people go, man, you keep your stuff affordable. To me, I'm like, I don't know. I still think that I'm like poor, right? So I'm like, oh man, what happened to those 6.99 toys? And those 8.99 toys. But the answer overall, given that there's just inflation in the cost to me, so I've got to do whatever else, is you look at the marketplace, and I've said lots and lots of times, you try to build a Cadillac and then you sell it at Ford and Dodge prices, right? And if you can do that, then people will pay attention to it. I think people understand value. I think
mhm,
consumers understand value, which is why my toy company was able to survive for so long with not really having any giant brands, right? I didn't have Marvel or DC or Star Wars or Transformers or any of that stuff. But I thought we're making for years a better figure, right? And the thing that it showed to me was even the moms and the casual buyer and the kids and whoever was coming on, not just the collectors, but the casual people sort of went, wow, that that toy, that art looks better than that art. Although that one is something that I know, and it's the same price. And but look how much more plastic and how much paint these like. I don't like, and so we were able to survive, right? With just saying, hey, we're just going to give you. It's not Hershey's chocolate, but it's a bigger chocolate bar, and it's still chocolate flavored, right? So I don't know, you can be you can be devoted to Hershey at this price for $1, or you can buy mine this big, still chocolate, for the same buck. I'll let you pick whether brands matter. And then if you get a brand on top of that and use the same mentality, Cadillac at a small price, give lots of detail, and it's called Batman, shoot, that's easy. That's a home run every time.
yeah, it's great. I mean, they look great on my mantle and whatnot. Right now, everything's in a box because I'm in the middle of moving, but it's gonna look so great when I put everything back up. And I mean, just I just had to ask that because I've always been impressed by it. I love the fact that it's also accessible because like I see them at stores. It's not just like a online special or like a show special. Your toys are very accessible to everyone, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and Manny too. I'm a private company, right? So the only person, to some extent, we got to keep sort of happy on the financial end, is me, and I don't, and I'm okay. Like I'm okay. I don't need more money, right? So what I need is customers, that are enjoying our product.